What's going on, folks? Renegade here. So I just got done work and got home, and originally my plan was to work on and make a video about this whole project. However, having another little issue. The car I'm currently driving, my 91, is having a little bit of an issue with idling. As much as I would love to do some work on the engine and rebuilding, let's face it, what good is a project car if your daily driver isn't working? So when I say having an issue with the idling, what do I mean? Well, folks, take a listen for yourself.
The car's been parked for about 15 minutes. Foot's off the gas. It's a really high idle. Unfortunately, my tack is a little screwy right now, so I can't check the idle speed. But judging by my, these funny little RPM gauges on the side of my head, it's probably sitting at about 2200, give or take. Whereas right now in park, it should be at about 1200.
Shut that off so I don't use all my gas. So naturally, if it's idling that high, what do? Well, you check under the hood. My intake is still on, still secure. Hoses are all on. Everything is on. The flame trap hose is on. It's not cracked. Now there is a bit of a crack on the fuel pressure regulator hose. So we're going to cut that, trim that, and see if it makes a difference. Because if your fuel pressure regulator isn't working, your fuel pressure will rise. And by not working, I do mean not connected properly. Let's test this. Still too high. It's almost like I'm on the gas, but I'm not. So let me test a theory. If you look over here, this is your throttle wheel. Throttle cable pulls the wheel, connects this linkage to the butterfly valve in here. Now when you turn this, you should hear an audible click from back here. I do not. This right here is your throttle positioning sensor. This is what tells the brain that your throttle is open or is closed. With these Bosch systems, the throttle positioning sensor is very important, and yet it's also very, very simple. It's basically just an open-close switch. If it's open, the sensor tells the brain, and it allows for a difference in fuel pressure coming from your fuel pump. If it's closed, then it tells the brain to not have as much fuel pressure, and the fuel pumps don't pump as much. I know it might be a little confusing for some, but trust me, this is a very simple system. Open, closed. That's all you need to know. But apparently, I have an issue of mine. Now there is an adjustment on this. If you look real carefully, and it's a little difficult to show you better because of the position of the sensor. If you notice right here, you'll see the bolt going through and going up past. And right there, that is a slot in the ear of the mounting plate of this sensor. And because it sits on a shaft, which acts as a pivot point, you can actually loosen the bolts, rotate the TPS, and see if that makes an adjustment. And all you need for that is an Allen head, or an Allen key rather. But it's kind of a pain just because of where it is. Like, could you have put it in a worse spot? So let's test this and see if it's just a misadjustment. There we go. Alright, so what I just did, that was hard to see because it's where I am. I literally just moved, I loosened up the one screw right here and pivoted the sensor. Now, that is what's supposed to happen. Now let's try it. All right. So the adjustment didn't work. And I pulled the connector down from the bottom of the sensor, and it turns out that the sensor itself, well, the prongs weren't bad. Nothing in the connector looked bad. So it leads me to believe that this sensor is actually bad. And so this, folks, is what your throttle positioning sensor looks like. Now obviously you would be looking at this on the back side of your throttle body on your intake manifold or your plenum. It's very hard for me to show you in the engine where exactly this sits and how to get to it and everything like that. But luckily, Renegade has spare parts. In fact, this tote that I'm using as a table, it actually has multiple intakes for the Volvo 240 in it because I'm a pack rat. But this comes in handy because I actually have a spare one. Not just so that I can put this in my car and everything be good, but also I can use it as a demonstration. Because here's your intake plenum. Should look familiar, right? Well, you guys are used to seeing it more on this side, with obviously your throttle wheel over here. So if you were looking at your intake plenum from this side, just to kind of reorient you guys, this is where your throttle positioning sensor would be. It's on the back side. So if you think about it, your intake hose goes this way. If you want to see it from above, see it like this with your hose going this way, it's right here. Now you can have a kind of good idea about the back side, what this looks like. I mean, it's sitting in a very tight spot. There's a bunch of wires and there's hoses right there. Your heater hoses are close by. It's kind of a pain in the arse to get to. But like I said before, the only thing that holds this on are these two little Allen key head bolts. Look at that. So tiny. So what you got to do is snake your Allen key back in behind. Throw it on the ground a couple times. Snake it back behind and get to these bolts and remove them. Then you can pull it off. Now inside, I don't know how well it's going to come out on camera. Probably not at all. But inside there is a piece that rotates and it has a flat spot inside. That flat spot lines up with the flat spot right here on the shaft of your butterfly valve, your throttle plate. It's pretty easy to get it lined up. And then when you go to install it, you slide it on all the way and you turn it till you hear it click. And when you open the throttle body, it should click. Now obviously it's a little loose for right now, but obviously this is all loose because it's being used as a mock-up right now. But if I hold this still and I move the throttle plate in the back, you align it until you hear it click. And when the throttle plate turns, you hear it click. And that's all it really is. And then obviously you reconnect the connector to the bottom. You know, simple 3-wire. On, neutral, off. It really is that simple. So obviously I took this one off my spare intake manifold, one of them. Now I'm gonna go put it on the car. Like I said, it's very difficult to show you guys with a good camera shot because of where it's located. That's why I'm showing you in here, the basic idea. Otherwise, you're just gonna be staring at the back of my hand, and that nobody wants to watch that. And look at this. You wanna stare at this for hours? All right, not hours, but for multiple minutes? No, you don't. So I'm gonna go put this in the car and we'll test it. I was thinking a suspicion that when I start it up, it'll idle just fine. Oh, and just in case you're curious. So we have the intake that's in the car. We have that intake, which goes to this whole motor situation. This intake don't lose the tiny bolts. So yes, multiple intakes. I have them. Because I'm a pack rat. Like I said, if this works correctly, if I put this part in and it starts right up and runs correctly, be very useful that I'm a pack rat. Let's go do that and see what happens, huh? That is so much nicer and smoother. That's much closer to its 1200 RPMs. It should be on idle. At least when it's in gear. See, because when it was in park or neutral, it would rev real high. When it was under load, when it was in gear, that's when it would drop down to still high, but not as bad. But as I said before, when you put it in park, like when I pull up somewhere that I'm gonna go in, you know, whether it be a store, whether it be work, I pulled up, put the car in drive, and suddenly, wah, not good. As I said, getting to the actual screws is a little on the difficult side, just because of where they are, but it's overall not a horrific job to do. And it's surprising sometimes how something so simple, so little, can make a huge effect on your car. And let's face it, if I had taken this car to a shop, it would have been a couple $100 for the diagnosis, $100 for the part, and I don't know, maybe they would have charged me another $100 for the labor, because it's a pain in the arse to get to. It's $400. I just diagnosed it myself, swapped it out myself, cost me about 20 minutes time, and all right, so I had the part already, so I didn't have to buy it, so we'll throw in $100 for the part, because that's roughly what one of these cost me. So 120 bucks, give or take. That's saving money. This is why you learn to work on your cars yourself. Well guys, I hope it helps you. If you're having an issue like mine, now you might have an idea where to look for. And you know, if your TPS is going bad, now you know how to fix it, how to replace it, and yeah, hopefully it's helpful. As always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment or a question if you have any. Remember to hit subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified when I upload a new video. See you in the next one.